Real people, real celebrities, real talk.
Join the Breakfast Club.
Blast off in your
Weekday morning, 6 to 10.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are the Breakfast Club. Now we have two individuals. I didn't catch their names. They are from Black Enterprise Magazine.
Introduce yourselves, good people.
I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. I'm Chief Content Officer for Black Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
I am Sarita Wright. I am the social media manager at Black Enterprise.
All right, well, good morning, guys.
Yeah,
Good
first,
morning.
I'm very happy that y'all are here because growing up in my house, it was Ebony Magazine, Jet Magazine, and Black Enterprise Magazine. And Black Enterprise was one of those magazines that I would read, and it would let me know that there's other things out there to do other than play sports and, you know, rap and do entertainment.
I saw your tweet about that too as well, so we appreciate that.
And you tried to be Jet Beauty of the Week, right?
What?
That has nothing to do with Black Enterprise. But I had to resubscribe for my house now. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's a good point.
Because I wanted my daughter to grow up to read.
Well, also, when you're young, you tend to get exposed to Black Enterprise because it does open up your world to what's possible for you. Mm-hmm. But I always tell people there's the day when you really become a Black Enterprise audience member, and that's when you hear what's going on around you, and you go from wow to what does this mean for my career, my money, my business, and my life. And the day you wake up and you realize I got to pay attention to what's happening with my money, my career, my business, and my life, that's when all of a sudden Black Enterprise takes on a different meaning because that's what we're about.
Absolutely.
Do you think that black people don't get as much as we're supposed to because we're black? And that's reading your magazine, looking on the website. So many black people invest in so many companies, and when you hear about a black person selling a business, it's never the same as somebody else.
It's a good question.
Well, there's a thing that Mr. Graves, our founder, and has taught us, and that's part of black culture. It's called the black tax, and it's the perception that certain things are either beyond us or we shouldn't be doing, even if those things are good for us.
Or we shouldn't be asking for.
Or we shouldn't be asking for,
right.
or we shouldn't expect. And maybe when I was a kid, I was told, you're not going to be able to do that. That's not. We don't get to do those kinds of things.
And it's usually our own people telling us.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So it's learned helplessness, And so a big part of what Black Enterprise does is provide proof by showing other people that are doing it that no, it's possible, and you shouldn't put limitations on yourself. You should assume that it can be done, and let the world prove you wrong, as opposed to assuming it can't be done, and you'll be right.
Yeah, that's what a lot of black people say. You can't be as successful as Caucasians no matter what we do.
No matter what you do, and it's really a bit disheartening because we have proof that you can do anything you want. A lot of times we also find that people just don't want to do the work. They don't want to read about how to file for the trademark. They don't actually want to put in any work. I mean, you get a lot of times comments from people who just read the headline, and we literally have to say, but girl, sir, did you read the article? All the information, everything you're asking is right there.
I just tweeted that the other day. I'm like, we live in an era where people will read the headline but won't read the actual story.
No.
All this content with no context.
Well, how many people walk up to any of you and say, will you be my mentor? And what they really mean is, will you hook me up? Will you get me in? Yeah. But they don't really want to know, okay, a real mentee wants to know how you got there, the work that you had to do, the sacrifices you had to make. I always tell people, you don't want my story, you don't want my results. But and so that shortcut, instant gratification mentality is antithesis. It's an antithesis to real success. And so we try to tell the story behind the story. It's one thing to say Oprah got all this. It's another thing to say, okay, this is what Oprah had to do to get it. This is what Angela Yee had to do to get this. This is not something that just she woke up and it came out of the sky. You made efforts, you trained, you sacrificed, you made decisions, you took risks, and then you got a result. And if you don't want to travel that road, don't say you want to get in there.
And what I love about Black Enterprise too, like Oprah, people like Oprah is always the go-to, or the Jay-Z's, but they show us other people who are making a lot of money. Like y'all did an article about the nation's top 100 black-owned businesses.
Yeah, every June we rank the nation's largest black-owned companies, industrial service companies, auto dealerships, banks, asset management companies. I mean, you name the industry. And as you said, it's not all Beyonce, Jay, and Oprah. There are regular, everyday, successful people of color who are doing amazing things in their careers and their businesses. And the more we normalize that and not make it seem like it's some kind of rarity, the more we, and I know I did as a young person, and then, of course, the next generation looks at it and says, this is something that's attainable for me if I'm willing to do this. And I have a model to look at, to follow, to do that.
Name some of them. Like, what are some of the businesses, and what are some of the industries, and how did they achieve?
Well, I'll give you a great example. Quiet as it's kept, unless you're a regular Black Enterprise reader, the largest black female-owned business is not Oprah or OWN TV. It's a company called Act One Personnel Services. That's the only female-owned billion-dollar company in the country, the largest. And it was started from a woman who just started a small, temporary services business, and then that expanded to technology training. And then she acquired businesses, and often we're afraid to grow and acquire other businesses or be acquired. And next thing you know, Janice Bryant Howroyd has a $1 billion plus business. Now, she's not a household name, again, unless you read business media on a regular basis, but she's the kind of person that we try to tell their story, we try to showcase them.
Where's she from?
She's actually from, I want to say Mississippi. She's somewhere in the South, North Carolina. I believe it's North Carolina.
I bet she balling down there.
And I think she lives in California now.
Yeah.
She ain't hurt. But she comes from a very, very large family. And that's the other myth, that you have to be born into it.
There you go.
Most wealthy people start out either lower middle class or below.
60%.
And then they earn, they learn and they earn their way to whatever success they have. And that's the story of most Americans. And so we try to do a great job of sharing that, not only in the magazine, obviously, but blackenterprise.com, which is where it really is driving the discussion around.
It doesn't work on Safari. I tried to do it from here. It didn't work on my Safari. It worked on his Chrome, but not on my Safari.
That is a
lie.
He's not doing that because y'all call Black Enterprise.
The devil is a liar.
I go on Black Enterprise every morning.
Look, I want you to know. Look.
He's doing that because y'all are Black Enterprise. I go on Black Enterprise every morning. Don't you tell that lie in me.
Look, you can Google it, right? You Google it, boom. Wait, hold on. That's Black Enterprise.
That's a damn shame.
Look, right? Black Enterprise, right?
Oh, gosh, Emmy.
What happens?
Something's wrong with your
That's
apparatus.
No. Let's not assume.
Can you get a new laptop,
We'll have our back end people check the browsers, but I never seen a browser that couldn't load
Safari.
it.
It worked for Chrome. It worked for everywhere else. It just wouldn't work for Safari.
All right, well, let's talk about blackenterprise.com for a second because I was actually featured on there before.
Yes.
And that was a great thing for me, too.
Half
because
of her was because she's black and Chinese.
I don't know if, the full part of it should have been on there.
But anyway, you guys did a great article on getting yourself out of debt. And I told my whole story about how I was in debt. And, going to college, you get all these credit cards and they just offer it to you in the lunchroom. And you're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to sign up for this.
I pay that $10 a month back. I can afford that.
And then next thing you know, you're in debt and then your credit is all messed up. And then you get out of school, you're not making a lot of money and you're just having to charge everything. And so I was deep in debt at a point. And I was very honest about it. In the article, and so many people were hitting me up, tweeting me, emailing me, thanking me for sharing the story because it's a common problem that so many people have. You realize you owe $30,000 and you just feel like you're never going to get out and you have no plan, you don't know what to do.
Well, we have a saying at Black Enterprise, if we're not telling people how to, we're not doing our jobs. So you're telling your story, the transparency, and saying, yeah, I had this problem. Let me tell you how I got past this problem so you can figure out how to get past this problem. Or I took advantage of an opportunity. Let me not just floss about how I'm balling, but let me tell you how I did this so other people can do it. And so that, that's one of my most popular posts
stories
on the site.
Oh, really?
Because
Yeah,
people who are looking to, how can I get past the student loan? And then that story comes up and it says, this is somebody I respect and admire who can say, I went through it too. And here's how I got past it.
I think that's amazing. If I haven't been on the site, but I think it's amazing.
Using the wrong browser.
You can't,
You're going to stop that.
I think a lot of times we don't help each other. And the way I say that is I look at my neighbors. I live in a predominantly white area, and they look out for each other. If there's a stock tip or if there is a real estate investment where they think, they will tell each other about it. I've never had a brother come up to me and say, yo, E, you need to check on Jersey City because they got some cool property over there. We just don't do that.
We're getting a little bit better with doing that, but we do have a lot of cynics. Again, people who just read stuff at face value. I mean, Carmelo Anthony has a tech company now,
right.
But you get so much pushback. Oh, he just doing this for the man, or oh, she just
there
doing
you
that for
go.
the tax write-off. And we always say, so what if someone is doing it for the tax write-off? That's what you would want to do. You have to learn how to play the game.
Managing
so that you can
your tax
benefit
situation is smart wealth building strategy.
It's not a bad thing to do. And also, like you said, with stock tips, we just tend to ignore conversations that we should be having,
right?
Because sometimes we just don't believe that it's possible for us. And if that's how you feel, that's fine. Right. But let someone else who could use that information just pass it on.
A big part of our answer for this idea that we need to inform and help each other is our events. And our next major one is the Black Enterprise Women of Power Summit, which is for women executives and business leaders. Or we have the Black Enterprise Entrepreneurs Conference, the Black Enterprise Golf and Tennis Challenge that we just had in Florida in Labor Day weekend. the whole point of those events is to bring together like-minded individuals in a very safe environment to talk about and share information. How did you get your business from, launch to $1 million a year to $2 million a year? How did you get from being a junior assistant executive secretary to being a senior VP in that corporation? And what hurdles did you have to jump and what obstacles did you have to get past? So a big reason we
don't like to tell each other though most of the time.
But if you see how these people come together at these events,
a lot of
they not only tell each other, they do business with each other.
Mentorships are formed.
But you know why though?
People don't even want to invest in that. Like you have to invest in excelling your career, taking it to another level. So that's another thing that we are really trying to push. You're not just coming to this event to, have fun, but you're coming to be exposed to great minds, like-minded people that you may not be able to find in your neighborhood. But these people exist.
And they're already winning. Like, they already got business, they already got money. To expound on what Envy said, if you're trying to talk to somebody who's not even in the game, the first thing they say is, it's easy for you to say because you already doing it. Yeah, I'm doing it, and I'm telling you how you can get it done, too.
Exactly. I did want to say one thing before I forget, because I talked about women of power. We already have 2 TV shows. People know us for Our World with Black Enterprise, and we had a show called the Black Enterprise Business Report. On October 24th, we're debuting the brand new Women of Power TV. It's going to be hot. It's really going to showcase women of color for every industry and business and professions, and entertainment and fashion and manufacturing. And it's really an extension of our very popular Women of Power Summit event that we're doing in Fort Lauderdale, right?
Fort Lauderdale.
In Florida, in beginning of March.
How do women look, though?
Shut up.
Is they hot?
Great. We all touched by the Lord, so we just have that glow.
Yeah. What about them curves, though?
There's not going to be no shortage of curves, dude.
That ass.
There's not going to be no shortage of ass either.
Okay.
I thought you were off the market, Charlamagne. What do you care?
I am. I'm just asking for the people that at home that are watching. You know what I'm saying? Give me some more incentive to show up.
There'll be enough eye candy to make it worth their while.
Yeah, we are visual people.
But they also come away with inspiration and tips and information that will help them to become powerful people themselves. And that's the mission of Black Enterprise. It's not enough for you to just look at somebody's house and say, that's a fly house, or that's a fly car, or look what they got. It's about, okay, if I aspire to a certain level of success, if I aspire to a certain level of lifestyle in business, in my career, in terms of how I manage my money, it's not enough to just show people doing it. It's
it is
to show
enough.
people how to do it.
I feel like sometimes you do have to show these kids the lifestyle. You do have to show them the cars you drive, the house you live in.
I think that's true for younger people, and you got to set a goal. So
not
you're right. That is important.
I think for us.
So you got to see it's possible.
They see it when they see it on your wrist, when they see you drive it, when they see you live it. Then
but
it's
always
but
been like that.
then we want to take it. We take it at blackenterprise.com in particular to the next step, which is, okay, what does it take?
Right.
How do you do it?
How do you bridge the gap?
And nobody who's really balling gets there by themselves.
Right.
So this whole idea of building large businesses or building successful careers, if you're not willing to share and if you're not willing to learn, you really aren't going to get anywhere anyway.
Now, I want to touch on something, or expound on something you touched on earlier, entrepreneurship, because I was having a convo with a young man, and he believes that billionaires and multimillionaires, they acquire their wealth through inheritance, which isn't true.
Not absolutely untrue.
So, and I read the article on Black Enterprise called Dreams of Being a Billionaire.
Yeah. Yep. And there's another great book called The 10 Roads to Riches that breaks down the 10 major ways people get rich in America. It's a very good book. So we do have to debunk a lot of the mythology that Americans in general believe, and African Americans in particular, and people of color believe, about how people gain their wealth and how people get wealthier. There's simple sets of habits. For example, a great book is I'm a big book dude, so
me too.
I drop books. But read Dr. Dennis Kimbro's latest book, The Wealth Choice. And what he does, he interviews African-American millionaires and billionaires and just talks to them about, how do you think? What is your decision-making process?
Right.
Where did you start? Most of them started out on welfare or less, or rural farms. They didn't start out balling at all, but they had this common way of thinking about life, money, business, work, that they all had in common, regardless of their background and where they came from.
A lot of us don't have that mind frame, though. And my parents, my mother's from Virginia, my father's from here. They don't have the mind frame to invest, because a lot of black people always feel like what Charlamagne just said, oh, that white person got that money because it was handed down to them. And even with my parents' whole thing was, you get a job, you go to school, you get your college degree, you get a job, and you work that job until you're 50 years old, then you retire. It was never step outside of the box. I was probably the first person in my family to step outside of the box to be an entrepreneur and invest in different things. And I was kind of shunned at first, because it was like, no, we don't do that. You got your degree, you get a job, you wear a suit. Wearing a suit was big back then. If you got a job with a suit on, it was everything for the family.
A suit, tie, and a job.
There you go.
And benefits.
With benefits.
Right.
That was my mom's thing. You got to have a job
But
with benefits.
here's the deal, and this is why we're so excited, Siri and I, to even be here today at Power 105.
Yep, yeah.
We're not about trying to re-educate our parents and grandparents. I mean, they had reasons for believing and seeing the world the way they do.
Right.
It's about us today and our listeners who are maybe in their teens, their 20s, their 30s, who are not their parents, who have seen different things and have a different way of looking at the world. And in particular, this is the most entrepreneurial generation, and black women in particular are the most entrepreneurial group in America. So, yeah, I can go back and try to convince my mama that, you know, you don't really just to sit there and wait for your retirement check. You can go and start a side business.
Absolutely.
And she may never buy it. But that's not where our future is anyway. We have an opportunity, and at Black Enterprise, we're committed, particularly through social media and digital media, to educating people who don't have to be untaught, who don't have to unlearn something to learn something new. And that's what we're doing here today, and that's what we do everywhere we go.
What industries are the new money makers coming from?
Oh, you're not going to be surprised. Tech is huge. Yeah. And even if you're not in the tech business, tech is going to drive your business. So that's very, very important. Your ability to there's a book out by Lamar Tyler, who's a good friend of mine. People on social media know him and his wife are black and married with kids. The gatekeepers are gone. You guys know that in the music business, in the film business, in publishing. You don't need the permission of a major corporation to put a record out, put together a film.
Put your book out.
And that creates tremendous opportunities to start where you are and build businesses. And then once you prove you have an audience, major corporations buy in.
What about health stuff? I notice health is real big right now.
Health is critical. And for two reasons. One, obviously, people are living a lot longer. And just because you're living longer doesn't mean you're not going to have health issues. So you have a population that is highly likely to get to 90, even 100 years old, but they're going to have health issues. But the flip side is that we are more focused on health and wellness as a community than ever. I mean, I don't miss my gym workouts, and we pay attention to what we eat, and that's not just about health. That's about money. It's about, when gluten-free foods and. But I never,
I go to a lot of health food stores, and I've never seen. maybe it's just me. Besides Styles P's juice shop in the Bronx, I rarely see African Americans that own those juice shops.
Oh, there's a lot in Brooklyn.
That's what I said. There's a lot in Brooklyn.
Yeah, all over in Brooklyn. As a matter everything in Bed-Stuy, on Myrtle Ave.
But more importantly, there are African American manufacturers of products that are sitting on shelves.
That's where the money
is. In boutiques, in Whole Foods, in Trader Joe's, either regionally or nationally. So yeah, it's okay it's good to have a health food store in your neighborhood. It's better to say, listen, I'm a distributor of gluten-free products at 30 Whole Foods around the country, and I'm growing my business.
You own the bando and the drugs that's being sold out the bando.
Yeah, what he said.
You know what, though, to get back to your question, franchising is also a huge industry with regards to...
It helped Rick Ross out a lot with the Wingstop.
Oh, yeah, they're Wingstop on Fulton Street.
I was there.
But franchising seems like...
everything works back to food sooner or later with you.
I don't know.
But doesn't it seem like it's a tease? Like, if you look at your McDonald's or you look at your Chick-fil-A's, you have to have so much in assets to own that stuff.
Yeah, but you got to look at what next.
It's almost impossible.
But that's why every September in Black Enterprise and also at blackenterprise.com, there's a lot of very affordable franchise companies.
Yes.
You don't have to go to McDonald's route, because generally you have to kind of be wealthy already to afford a McDonald's. But there are so many.
Look at Calvin. They say that dream that Calvin could work.
Man, forget Calvin.
Are you serious?
I'm saying
you got to look at what's next.
The vast majority of franchise opportunities are not McDonald's-sized investments.
No.
I'm going coffee
Mobile
and donuts.
businesses are also becoming huge because it's a more inexpensive way to start a company. So you're seeing a lot of mobile fashion companies, lots of mobile soup companies, but they're also starting to franchise. Also, with regards to healthcare, there are a lot of franchises that are just doing in-home healthcare. So there's a lot of opportunities to buy into this stuff and expand from there. Sometimes people think that you have to hold on to a franchise for a really long time, but a big trend is to scale it and sell it so that you can pursue other, you can
could you
pursue
tell
other
people that again? Because people feel like we, as black people, we get a business and then we sell it.
Nope.
We sold out.
Oh my God!
That's the point of business.
You cannot build wealth if you hold on. You build a business and hold on to it till you die. You'll have 100% ownership, but it won't be worth much.
I mean, you guys know this as well. I mean, you have a job that determines your salary, but you determine your income, and you have different things that you do outside of this because you can't build wealth just with one job.
You need multiple streams.
I did an article on that too on Black Enterprise. Enterprise.
See, we're going to re-socialize all your stuff, girl.
I talked about having multiple streams of income.
And then just share all that again.
We did.
I want to expound on something else we touched on too. Women in business. You know what I'm saying? Because contrary to popular belief, it's women and women of color out here that's winning. Could you highlight some more of those young ladies?
Here's I want you to weigh in as well, Sarita, as a young lady.
As a woman.
But here's what we know statistically.
I want to open up these.
Women are more likely to start businesses, and women of color in particular. And women are better investors. Study after study after study has shown that women are more effective investors than men. There's a number of reasons, but the two biggest reasons is, one, women do have double challenges in advancing in corporate America. And they have lifestyle challenges. And sometimes they'll be like, you know what, I'd rather not be the senior vice president of the major corporation, rather own my own business and control my life so I can do what I need to do for my family and live the life the way I want it. The other thing is that women love to learn.
Right.
They're not intimidated by saying, I don't know. There's a reason why we have a Women of Power Summit. We don't have a Men of Power Summit because Men of Power, I don't know if anybody come. Women have